What role does free, prior, and informed consent play in the exercise of the right to self-determination by Indigenous peoples? Free, prior, and informed consent is the right to take part in determining the outcome of decision-making processes impacting Indigenous peoples. It is not a mere right to be involved in processes. Free, prior, and informed consent is mentioned in 6 articles, namely Article 10, 11, 19, 28, 29, and 32, covering any matter that has to do with relocation, cultural heritage, adoption of legislative and administrative measures, redress regarding lands, territories, and resources, storing hazardous material in indigenous lands, and natural resource exploitation, and projects affecting lands, territories, and resources. These articles contain explicit requirements concerning free, prior, and informed consent on issues of fundamental importance for the right, survival, and well-being of Indigenous peoples. We should add that International Labour Organization Convention 169 in Article 16 also requires free, prior, and informed consent in the context of forced relocation of Indigenous peoples. Free, prior, and informed consent is embedded in the right to self-determination, Article 3 of the Declaration. It is not only a procedural right, but a substantive one that ensures respect for Indigenous peoples' rights. It affirms the prerogative of Indigenous peoples to withhold consent and to establish terms and conditions for their consent. Under the free, prior, and informed consent requirement, Indigenous peoples have the right to determine the outcome. It is not merely the right to participate in a process. In fact, various Indigenous peoples have been issuing their own protocols on free, prior, and informed consent, both addressed to states and to corporations. Article 32 of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples on natural resource exploitation is centrally relevant to today's major threats faced by Indigenous peoples. Article 32 states, quote, "States shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the Indigenous peoples concerned through their own representative institutions in order to obtain their free and informed consent prior to the approval of any project affecting their lands or territories, particularly in connection with the development or exploitation of minerals, water, or other resources," unquote. It is significant that the 2014 World Conference on Indigenous Peoples Outcome document, adopted by consensus, also reaffirms free, prior, and informed consent before administrative and legislative measures are adopted and implemented. Operative paragraph 20 reaffirms free, prior, and informed consent before approving projects affecting Indigenous peoples' lands, territories, and resources. It is clear, therefore, that respect of free, prior, and informed consent is an indicator of respect for Indigenous peoples' rights. At the same time, various approaches and guidelines on free, prior, and informed consent have been issued by intergovernmental organizations, by corporations, conservation organizations, and such approaches vary. They are not all respectful of genuine free, prior, and informed consent. It is therefore crucial to be aware of that and to follow the authoritative interpretation of what constitutes free, prior, and informed consent provided by the 3 Indigenous rights-related mechanisms of the United Nations, namely the UN Expert Mechanism on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, and the UN Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Questions about how to implement free, prior, and informed consent include these. Who is the Indigenous authority to give the consent? What is the meaning of prior? What role does time play? What is the form that consent can take? What recourse mechanisms are available? Can Indigenous people say no? The three indigenous rights-related UN mechanisms have done significant work on free, prior, and informed consent. The Permanent Forum identified this as a major issue at the beginning of its work in 2003 and adopted some first guidelines on the understanding of free, prior, and informed consent in 2004. This is available in your bibliography. The most comprehensive study on free, prior, and informed consent was done in 2018 by the UN Expert Mechanism on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, also available in your bibliography. In addition, the Human Rights Committee has consistently supported free, prior, and informed consent in its jurisprudence over the years under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.